Dear ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Antonia Kay. I am the Field Service Portfolio Director at WBR, and I'm pleased to welcome you to the virtual edition of the Field Service Europe Conference. As you may already know, our event serves as a digital platform for European service and support executives looking to connect and explore the latest industry trends. And through today's keynotes and panel discussions, we are hoping to give you a glimpse into the key projects and initiatives that your fellow industry peers have been prioritizing over the past 6 months, as well as have a collaborative discussion about some of the strategies and technologies that can help you drive business continuity in the face of the ongoing pandemic. And it is my honor to welcome the first group of industry experts who are joining us to have a conversation about the current state of field service industry, as well as the future of digital services in our marketplace. Let's give a warm round of virtual applause to Jan Dillethauer, Global Head of Software Quality Assurance and Software Application at Agfa Graphics, Mark van der Wolf, Global Head of Service and Projects at MOBA Group, and Jan van Veen, Founder and Managing Director at More Momentum. Gentlemen, it's so great to have you here today. Thank you so much for finding the time to join and share your takeaways with us. Jan, I'll let you take over from here.
Yes, thank you, Antonia, and welcome at this fire chat session. The three of us will be discussing how you can advance your digital service, how you can grow your digital services and thrive in this rapidly changing world. And in the end, it's all about adding new values for your clients. So before we start the discussion, let us briefly introduce ourselves. So Mark, if you can introduce yourself, your company, and your role briefly.
Yeah, sure. My name is Mark van der Wolf. I'm responsible for the service after sales and projects in MOBA Group. MOBA is a supplier of egg grading, egg packing, and egg processing machinery and solutions worldwide. And we supply to customers which are either the egg producers or the egg traders, which supply to the markets where we all consume the eggs.
Thank you. And Jan, maybe you can introduce your company and your role.
Sure. I work at Agfa. Agfa is a company that has solutions in the healthcare industry, in the graphics printing industry for both offset and inkjet solutions, and also for specialty products industries. I work actually in the graphics part of it, so that means, well, basically within our team we take care about, let's say, every time that we release a new software product, we take care about the verification and the validation process. So that means the internal software testing, but also taking those products to beta sites before we release them, of course. So that's the whole validation cycle. We also take care about the documentation of the products, the training to the service technicians, making sure that everybody gets lined up for both the first line, the second line, third line support. So basically all the technical tasks next to the real development and the coding. So that's what we do within our team.
And that also includes, let's say, software solutions or digital solutions for clients, not only for internal
so
use.
The focus within our let's say, team is mainly on all the software products that we deliver towards the graphics industry for print.
Excellent, thank you. So, and my name is Jan van Veen. I'm the founder and managing director of More Momentum, which is an international services community for manufacturers where we together develop, share, and apply new best practices for digital services, but also radical business innovation. So let's start the discussion with briefly sharing, introducing what kind of digital services or solutions are you currently offering to your clients or part of your clients. Jan, maybe you can start.
Sure. So within, let's say, being a software department, we of course offer a whole bunch of software products. Let's say where the focus is on one hand on automation for printing companies, but definitely the latest software products or more cloud solutions offering full IT infrastructure ownership, taking care about security, disaster recovery for customers. We have a number of products also in the area of quality and process control, where you actually take care about, let's say, approval of jobs, uploading of jobs, making sure that digital communication between our end customers and their end customers can take place. We have a number of products that focus also on reducing also the ink and paper consumption. That's also an important part. So overall, it are various segments for commercial print, newspaper print, security design software, inkjet solutions. So in various areas of the different segments.
Thank you. And Mark, what kind of digital solutions are you providing to the ag graders and
the market? Yes, well, we have maybe a little bit more obvious tools at first, like a spare parts web shop. We do supply online training and e-learning modules for our customers. We have smart glasses. We recently started to roll those out for remote support of our customers worldwide. We have several remote web applications where we can, of course, make connection to the machines, but also have this available for customers that they from remote locations can access their machines. Probably the biggest cloud-based tool we have launched recently is iMoba. This is a platform for customers where they can obtain production data, all kind of operational data from their whole, let's say, operational process, including the MOBA equipment, where they use that for optimization for either their operation or their production processes, where it supplies dashboards and all kind of information. So that's probably our latest and our biggest, let's say, launch since the last 2 years. We see that mainly customers are using to improve their uptime and their operational data coming from that platform.
Okay, and what you just said, it is iMobile. Does it collect data, process data of the entire process also there where it's not mobile equipment? Is that what you said?
Yes, we have recently launched certain interface modules where we can also connect customers' operational data before and after, I would say, the mobile solution.
Okay, and one more question, by the way. You just mentioned e-learning. What kind of courses or trainings do you offer to your clients?
Well, we normally have user trainings, operator trainings, service trainings, and trainings on detection equipment. We used to do that in a classroom environment here in our headquarters. We see the world going more to a hybrid model where we should also be able to provide those same modules to customers by means of webinars or by means of online or e-learning kind of modules. That is what we have currently been boosting and been speeding up, partly due to COVID, but also we have seen in the past already a need for that. And certain elements can really be tailored towards much more online and e-learning, also to prepare better for trainings than before.
Interesting. So it's not only manufacturing and field service, which is rapidly changing today, but the digitalization, but the whole education and learning industry as well. So that will affect, let's say, our learning and education services as well. So, okay, so now we have a kind of overview of the kind of business you're in, or the kind of digital solutions you are offering at this moment. So it's all real business and real service to your clients. So if we say that growing digital services in the end is also about solving customer problems, adding value to them, and probably beyond, also beyond the maintenance and remote service. What kind of problems do you see that iMoba is solving, or what kind of value do you see iMoba is offering to your clients at the moment?
Well, as a good example, we had a customer in the Far East, and we had an intensive discussion with him on the features iMoba would offer, but also the added value which it could offer to his business. And of course, those were the little bit logical ones we already thought of ourselves, like uptime, like production data, machine data, which the customer was very interested in to obtain and also to optimize their process. But during this journey, actually, we learned that the customer had also multiple other, let's say, aspects of improving their business. And they actually told us this story that They were using iMobile for this production and optimization data, but they were also looking back upstream in their own process to their farms. And they learned that from iMobile, they could obtain certain quality data from their products. And that helped them a lot, for instance, to build a business case for new investments on their farms. And they had difficulties in getting these investments on paper and the right justifications, the right value for money. But by means of our platform, they were able to justify, by means of figures and quality measures, to justify this business case for new investments on their farms. Plus, they were able to have more of a sustainable product for the future because they had less waste and all kind of other advantages. So what it learned us is that, yes, we knew our customers and they knew us, but during this journey, there were other aspects which gave benefits to this platform. And that you only learn by doing.
And not only you as a supplier, but also probably that they at some point start discovering how else they can use the data or the solutions you're offering. So it's a kind of joint journey. Yeah. And so what kind of, maybe you can elaborate a bit on what kind of data did they get which helped them to set up the business case, because it's a business case for a new plant or a new location. I assume
exactly. They had in their farms, they had certain pieces of equipment which had a certain age and a certain, let's say, value for money, and they learned that they had a lot of waste and inefficiencies coming from certain parts of those farms, and they just said, well, when looking to the economical lifespan and the financial lifespan, it is now actually time to do replacements rather than wait for another 2-3 years where we would lose X amount and we can now earn Y in this aspect. So that all had to do with the waste, the number of running hours per day, the number of labor costs, and they made a business case out of that using the whole chain platform.
Yeah, and it also includes, let's say, energy, CO2,
exactly,
etc.
It had labor cost, energy consumption, the waste, the number of grade AX, which they can either put in the pack or which they will lose and will send to industry.
Yeah. Excellent. And Jan, with the kind of digital solutions you're offering to your clients, how do you see that is solving certain business problems of your clients, the printers?
Yes, absolutely. And I think there are various aspects in that. Let's say a first one is definitely taking away some IT concerns for customers, because you can imagine that, for instance, smaller customers or smaller print companies do not always have their own IT department. And as such, by offering them cloud infrastructure, we take away a number of the concerns for them, typically in the area of security, firewalls, disaster recovery, and those kind of things. A second important item, I think, is optimization of the production process. I think if you look then more to the let's say to the bigger customers, definitely, and especially in Europe and in the Americas, I think there is a continuous drive for, let's say, more automated robotization, automation. So definitely our products are putting a big focus into those kind of areas. A third one is maybe a big one, actually. Also, it's reduction of costs, overall reduction of costs. Because sometimes even other drivers are big cost drivers where we can have an influence on with our software, which makes it a complete, very interesting value proposition towards the customer. A fourth one, I think, is definitely sustainability, very important nowadays. A fifth one has more to do with, I would say, is a step in new business models, which makes it easier for customers to step in overall into certain products. And we're talking then more about indeed cloud and subscription and those kind of things, which makes it easier for certain customers to take that step, to take the hurdle of having to invest. And then a sixth one, I think, is a overall improved digital communication. Also, our end users, you see that more and more a whole bunch of things are being done remotely at various sites. So communication is important, automatic uploading of jobs, approving of jobs, but even, let's say, quality and process control from brand owner to printing company. And where you see that this let's say, this infrastructure of providing to them a way on doing that kind of digital communication is also a very important part. And now with the whole COVID-19 pandemic, I think it's just accelerating and increasing.
And so one of the things, what I think becomes quite visible here, which both of you are saying, is that, let's say, the whole digitalization, which means we have other kind of digital tools, connectivity, data, etc., means that any kind of business, or also your clients, are starting to run the business different or optimizing their businesses different, but also means that they have different kind of challenges, like how do we get clear data to have a more visibility on cost structure, and how can we optimize that? Or like you just said, Jan, is that also your clients are changing their business model and value proposition, more kind of on demand, in the cloud, etc. But that also means that they have to kind of change the way they run their business. And then automatically they will start looking around who's going to help them with that. And that can be you as a manufacturer, but also it could also be another kind of solution provider. But in the end, that is where their problems are. But then we're also not only talking about, let's say, the maintenance manager or the operations director of your client, but probably also other kind of stakeholders. So besides just discovering by doing, as you just mentioned, Mark, how can we make sure that we learn those kind of needs up front, or maybe also make sure that we discover them as we go from a broader angle than, let's say, business as usual from the last decade?
Well, according to my opinion, you're entering a little bit the field of customer segmentation as well. I mean, that we use for many other aspects than only digitalization, but customers they're very all across the world. It can depend on regions, it can depend on the size of their operations, but even in one region we see customers, we have early adopters, we have conservative customers, we have customers who have their biggest challenges in labor, where others have the biggest challenges in environmental issues or getting permits. So I do believe it starts with the wider perspective of segmentation. So there is a certain amount of theoretical approach, and from that on, it's indeed not only learning by doing, but it is piloting in certain regions and certain areas, and taking into account that knowing your customer or knowing one customer in the region doesn't automatically give you the guarantee that the whole region needs to be approached like that.
Maybe you can elaborate, but if you talk about segmentation, what you quite often see, okay, we have large clients, small clients, or we have maybe APAC or Europe or US or those. But are those the right ways of segmenting, or are you looking for other ways of segmenting the client?
I think it can be multiple ways. Yes, it's regional, depending on regions and size of companies, but it also depends on the customers of our customers. The big retail and supermarket chains, they can have bigger varieties or smaller varieties of egg packing, up to 200 or 250 different products. For one customer, is a big difference when it's only 8 or 9 different products, and when they're packing on flat trays and selling their eggs to an in-between seller. So it's really knowing your customers, but also the customers of your customers, which can vary a lot. So it's not only regional based, it's not only size based, but it's the whole spectrum.
Yeah, excellent. Jan, so how do you discover the different needs from your clients, also looking at the broader scope than just your machine and the uptime of your machine?
I fully agree with Mark there. I think it all starts with knowing your customer, but also knowing the customer of your customer. And there will be variation, and it depends also on the profile of your customer. And some customers will focus themselves on a specific niche or something. Others will diversify their business. It can vary a lot, and indeed it can vary regional-wise. It can vary from profile, from customer to customer, from small customers to bigger customers. Commercial is something completely different than newspaper, for instance. So indeed, it all starts with just knowing your customer and asking also the right questions, and then we come a bit into the area of what we call also the whole value selling approach, where if I step to a customer and I ask the customer, I want to sell you this or that software product, or I ask to the customer, what is your biggest problem? Can be a completely different question, actually can be a completely different story, and you can end up with a completely different offering, understanding actually their needs better, and it all depends indeed on knowing your customers. What is the profile of the customer? What do they want? What do they want to achieve? What are their problems?
So yeah, I also see that really knowing your customer. So let's call it getting the PhD in your client, of knowing your client, and knowing your client even better than they may know themselves. Is hard work, and segmentation is absolutely critical, although that is often also part of the result of at some point better understanding your clients, and then you start seeing certain patterns. So also, well, I think both of you already mentioned a few things that looking at, let's say, the value chain or of the cost structure of your client already can give a lot of hooks to see, hey, that actually it's not our piece of equipment, but ink consumption and labor costs, and hey, and if they would change the process in this way, that would reduce so much more cost than just investing in the right equipment and keeping that up and running in the proper way. Yeah? So looking at that entire value chain, but that also means you have to talk with other stakeholders. So let's say the CEO, the CFO, the commercial director, the innovation director, like you also mentioned, Jan, with your clients changing the value proposition and business model. So you have to start talking with all those different people and asking indeed the right questions. An example of a segmentation, I think, Mark, we've been talking about, let's say, some sort of segmentation, how that could look like. And so, for example, we would see different clients with a different level of maturity of how they run their business. Are they still very labor intensive and traditional, or are they really working on better equipment, or are they really looking at operational efficiency, or are they even looking at integration with the entire value chain? Different markets, so then you could already kind of have a matrix of 3x3 or something. Exactly. And then you can say, okay, hey, but this market segment typically has these kind of challenges and problems, and therefore these kind of services could be relevant. What example did you have for that kind of segmentation?
Well, we did that exercise, Jan, that's a good question. We did that exercise and we came up with 4 different segments of our customer segmentation. But then, of course, we somehow concluded the elements which had an overlap. And then we did came to labor scarcity and labor costs worldwide. And even in the developing countries, labor can be scarce because it's not only related to cost per hour, it's also the knowledge which the people need to have, like an operator, or like a maintenance person, which is responsible for maintenance at the customer site, which constantly need to be trained on new elements. So labor, and then secondly, of course, it's also reliability, delivery reliability to their customers. So uptime and reliability of our customers towards their end customers. This is like the 2 elements which you actually see as a worldwide red line in their operations. So, and that's also been the basis for our development in digital services at first. And I just explained a while ago that on those journeys you find other elements, but those 2 elements, they had an overlap in all the segments. Maybe one more thing to add. I also believe that it's with many customers, they whether they're small or big, or whether they are mature or still developing, they all expect new things and new development, because in their, well, I would call it private lives, they see all these things happening in a digital world, and they simply do project it on their business lives as well. So it's no longer, I would say, a hope or a nice surprise if they get something new. They simply expect this also from us.
That's interesting. So also, Jan, let's say the more, yeah?
No, I would say maybe Jan sees the same aspect in his area.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think we talked about it before, but definitely, I think there is on one hand, there is a push that we see out of the market, because within our industry, there is consolidation. There is, let's say, a higher demand from the end users of our customers. There is a demand for higher flexibility on one hand. And on the other hand, also our customers, I think everybody sees that there is a kind of a pull, I would say, from all kinds of new technologies that are currently in the latest couple of years are coming up, like Internet of Things, connectivity, more remote, automation, robotization, artificial intelligence, AR, VR, blockchain, cloud. And indeed, it's like you say, Mark, it's about, it's actually they expect also that we come with new offerings and new innovations because it's all out there and everybody's talking about it. Hence, you want some advancing in what can you offer or what can it mean to me? How can it actually improve my business? And that counts as well for us, but also for our customers, of course.
Exactly.
So it's interesting that you're both also saying, hey, but our clients expect it, so they don't like expect our machines and equipment to be up and running in a well condition without disturbing the process. They also start looking for more advanced other kind of support in running and improving their operations, in developing their business. So arguably, you're not the only ones they do business with. So they also work with other software companies, service providers, system integrators, what have you. And they could also start looking at them to provide some additional support. So actually that brings me to the other question. So it's always nice that we as service experts, experienced and leaders have some good ideas how to develop our service offerings, etc. But that's only part of the total business. So how does this fit in, let's say, a longer term vision you're having for service, but also in relation to the overall company? So yeah, maybe you can start.
Well, I think the major drive, I think, within our company is also continuous innovation. So I think, and that can happen both, let's say, on product level, but that can also happen on, let's say, business models, but also processes. So definitely, overall, it has to fit anyway within an overall drive to bring continuously new innovations. That means also that at the end, yeah, indeed, we come up with new offerings because there is also a need for it, and there is a kind of a value proposition that you want to bring to the customer. And in that way, I think it's very important that a number of the current solutions that we bring to the market, that there is a good, let's say, understanding of the customer's needs and how you fit actually the whole value proposition of what the customer is expecting there. And I think in our area, it really has to do with, let's say, the buzzword is innovation overall.
But that means that in your company, the notion of innovation is not only product innovation, but is much broader. That already is a starting point, which means whenever you come with another kind of innovation, a product innovation, which still serves your clients, it's a good innovation, assuming that there is revenue in it, or?
Yeah. No, at the end, we all want to earn money, of course. So that's on one hand, but of course you try to optimize also processes, sometimes also to free up resources to do also other things. So it all has to do with a combination, I think, of both product processes, services, indeed.
Yeah. So Mark, for a big extent, probably a bit similar, but so how is it with mobile?
Yeah, well, our customers, I think it's like Jan said, it's about understanding the whole chain of value for the customers. And for instance, when I see our customers, they have livestock, they have equipment, which is hopefully mobile equipment, but they also have logistics. They have trucks coming to collect the eggs every single day. So the more reliable the end production hour is close to the logistics, the more money they make on that part. And by the end of the day, it's the cost per egg, or the cost per a dozen of egg, or per case of egg, which is of course leading for any customer. And with Jan, it's another industry, but the similar drivers are there. We would like to understand this whole chain. So they have feed, they have livestock, they have logistics, and the vision we have, we want to play a significant portion in their whole optimization chain. And it's a little bit comparing to be whether you want to be the car, or do you have the desire to be only the car radio. So customers are developing, like you said, also in the field of optimizing their feed consumption, optimizing their truck fleet. And we have to realize that we are a portion of their whole chain, but you can still do a lot of good work to look upstream and downstream whether you can offer them the interfaces to make it more user-friendly and to build yourself in their process and add value as such.
I think there are two things how you can say we have to have a complete solution, because in the end that is what I think you're saying, a kind of complete solution, integrated solution, whether it's hardware, software, data, people, what have you. And that can be through the whole chain or a very specific chain, but still it's a complete solution where they don't need all kinds of other bolt-on things to make the whole thing working. And that is in the end what we do as a product provider. We just provide them the product and leave all the other problems, how to get value out of that, to them or other service providers. Or do you take that within your scope as well?
Well, maybe one thing to add, Jan, and you also have to be flexible. I think we have to be flexible because some customers do have a solution already, and then maybe our solution come more to the application type of solutions we have, which we can add on their core systems. And other customers would request from us to provide the whole platform. So it's also a matter of how flexible you're putting yourself, which I think is very important.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. I think also in our area, you can see that it moves sometimes, let's say, from a product business towards also more a project or a solution business indeed. And it's something completely different. And
exactly.
The scope differs enormously. It can be very, very dedicated or very narrow until, let's say, an overall bigger solution which is integrated with the rest of the business.
Yeah, so probably part of the challenge here is to really become customer-centric in that sense, taking the customer problem as a starting point and see what is needed to solve that. I once made a remark to somebody saying that they're not customer-centric or focused, and they kind of said, well, we are. We really understand what kind of functionality they need to solve the problems. So that kind of help me enrich the idea. It's not about being only talking with your customers and learning from that, but also let's say what kind of scope you are looking at, but also receiving and perceiving and processing. And so say, hey, but that's not our business. We focus on the product. That still means that you are listening to your client to come up with the right products. And the challenge here is to have that wider scope and view on what your role could be and what kind of problems you can solve. And we have to gradually close this discussion, and as always, these are too short to talk, and there's much more to talk. Maybe we can both share, you both can share a bit of what do you see as the most challenging obstacle to have a high pace of development of your digital services and solutions. Mark, what do you see as the biggest hurdle or obstacle to solve?
Most important thing would have this, indeed, like you said, this customer-centric approach, and be sure that you keep in these challenging times, keep the relationship, the personal relationships with your customers, and keep on listening. I think that's absolutely the most important thing. The most challenging aspect will also to build a revenue stream of all this kind of new digital services. Like I said, many customers expect from us that we come up and that we deliver and we support them with new digital services and prospects. So developing a revenue stream, but also making ourselves a transfer from, like Jan just said, being more of a product-related company, more to a project or a service-related company. Another challenge I want to mention is that it also drives a big internal force towards the development of your products. If in a digital world, you want to be able to offer to your customers those specific elements which add value, it also means your own products need to be capable and ready to interface with this. So also towards development and towards engineering, this is an interesting internal challenge which we have to, let's say, go in for the next couple of years.
Thank you, Mark. Jan, what do you see as the most important challenging hurdle?
I would say the whole change management is an important bit of it. And that means then as well towards how you're going to offer things towards the customer, also even at the customer's side, perception, but definitely also internally, on, let's say, continuous learning, new business models, skills of people, a completely other way of approaching a customer than it was before. And I think that are indeed biggest challenges. And that ends up at the end, indeed, even towards upstream in the development of the products, where you need to think more integrated. Let's say what needs to be thought about, and effectively, I fully agree with Mark there. That is then also indeed the revenue stream or the business model or the strategy that you build yourself around it. Definitely, it's not always an easy story.
Thank you, Jan. Well, I think in the end, if you try to take the easy way, then everybody will do it, and then there's nothing to win there. So it's always good to do something difficult.
Yeah.
If I may add a challenge and also, let's say, a kind of recommendation in there. There are two types of innovations. Well, you can have all different kind of categorizations and types, but you have sustaining innovation and growth innovation. Sustaining innovation is kind of protecting your current business and improving that along the dominant logic in your industry. And in our view, predictive maintenance and remote support are part of that. You're not really going to grow your business. It's going to kind of continue to develop the offerings you're doing it in a better way, and you have to do it because otherwise at some point you lose your license to operate. And then you have innovation for growth, which is critical to thrive in these disruptive times. And that's all about doing new things and things completely different, and that is a huge opportunity we as manufacturers have with digital services. So we have to embrace that. So have those two different tracks clear on your radar screen, and make sure you do enough innovation for growth and do not focus only on sustaining innovation. So, gentlemen, thank you very much. I think we've, in a short time, 30 minutes, gave some very interesting perspectives in growing and fast-tracking your digital services. Thank you very much. And by the way, to the audience, if you have any questions still unanswered or would like to know more, you can reach out to us. You can also drop a question on your screen right now, and we will have a look at those questions and get back to you by email to answer those questions. So feel free to raise some more questions, and have a great event. And back to you, Antonio. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Jan.
Thank you very much.